Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Now, that's Central Time, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Now, you watch us anytime you want to. We are syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast now on newscasters.com. All the social media sites, you can't get away from us if you even try. We're out there. So I want to thank you so much for and thank you so much for your support. You know, we're going to be going on 20 years on April 1st of this year. And we're so excited about that. So a friend of mine, his name is Tom Williams, and he owned a radio station and a television station in Anniston, Alabama. So he walks up to me and says, I'm beginning a talk show, noontime talk show. I said, awesome. We need that, because they'd had one that, just didn't make it. And I said, oh, that's great. He's going to be the host. And he said, you are. And I went, yeah, right. I won't remember my name. And he said, no, you're going to do it. And I said, well, what are you going to do if I mess up? And he said, well, we're going to tape you and we'll just see. So it made history. So there you go. We've been doing it for 20 years and it's just been nothing but fun. You know why it's so much fun? Because first of all, you guys are the greatest audience in the world. And I get to have wonderful guests like this one right here. And turned into a good friend. And her name is Terri LaPoint. She's an author and she's a speaker. She's everything I wish I could be. Thank you, Terri, for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always good to see you.
I always look forward to it. I think we hit it off with the first show. And it was like, I told Phil, I went home and I said, that girl's got to be back on the show more often. And he said, yeah, I agree. He really likes your show. Because you talk about the things that nobody else wants to talk about, but it's extremely important to get that word out. Tell us a little bit about you, because we're in a different area.
Well, right now, I just got back from Washington, D.C. You see my, what is it on this side? I usually put buttons on this side. My button, here, let's see. Okay, Donald Trump. Cameras do different things than I expect them to. Anyway, Donald Trump. I was there in Washington, D.C. at the inauguration. And I went to the inaugural prayer breakfast that day, and then they live streamed it. So I didn't have to wait, for hours and hours and hours and hours out in the freezing cold. But I was in Washington, D.C. It was amazing. It was.
Okay, now it was cold. Was it worth it? Would you do it again?
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Yes, the atmosphere was electric. There was just a palpable change, joy and hope, because DC is a place where you see a lot of people that are kind of real, they're just trudging along, they're doing their jobs, and they're, and you see all kinds of people there, but boy, howdy, this city was filled with so much hope. It was just amazing.
I'm so glad, because I'm going to tell you, we've been through 4 years of just terrible drama, just dread, but some of my liberal friends are just telling their friends and telling people all over the Facebook area, social media, that we're in for a bad 4 years. Do they call the past 4 years good?
I just kind of wonder about their perceptual ability. God, Jesus heals blind eyes. Like, Lord, heal their blind eyes, because they're not seeing the same things we're seeing.
I'm seeing.
They're really not.
Yes. I use the word hope, because if there is no hope, there has to be hope in this world. And some of the things, hey, this guy never rests, does he? Okay, while other people are out ready to go party and all this kind of stuff before.
And there were lots of parties.
He was working then. And I love the way he got when he was writing his signature on the papers. He was throwing the pens out to people.
I love it.
Full Donald Trump style, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness! Would you want to know what I was doing that afternoon while he was signing all of those things?
I'd like to know.
I had the most incredible afternoon. I'm gonna try not to cry. So, I do the medical kidnap story, or I did. I covered a lot of medical kidnap stories, but there was one story that really impacted me, probably harder than any of the rest of them, where this mother had her child taken from her baby, taken medically kidnapped and taken by Child Protective Services. But the mother was adopted as an infant by child traffickers. And she was subjected to tons of medical experimentation and, I mean, things that you just can't even believe are happening in this world. She went through all of those things. We didn't report on those things because I couldn't prove them. But now we've seen a lot of evidence of those things. Anyway, so I had reported this story, and I'd met her. When I met her, she did not have her baby with her. She was really worried about her child, and then she disappeared for a while. They disappeared her, and just for speaking out. And so I prayed many, many prayers for her and her family. On election day, not election day, on the inauguration day, that afternoon, I met with her and her husband and her little girl.
Oh, that's awesome.
After 5 years, they kept that baby. And she's back home. She's the smartest, cutest little thing. She's just smart as a whip. And I got to spend that whole afternoon with that family that's been reunited. Mm-hmm. And they have so much hope. They are so excited about President Trump.
You said 5 years. I remember what it would be like for my husband and I to go on a little mini vacation for 3 days, and it would just
it was horrifying. Just hard being away from your kids that long. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 years.
So what did she have to say about that?
Well, she wants to do something about it. She's wanting to speak out. She's starting to speak out more and more. She might be, if you might want to have her as a guest on your show sometime, because she wants to speak out. We connected her with somebody that's in D.C. that goes and talks to the legislators, and they're taking her under their wing, and they're going to take her to talk to legislators, and as we're working on some bills for families to try to keep this kind of stuff from happening. So she's ready to speak out. She's ready to do something about all the families that are going through the same thing she is.
So how many families, if we could pick any kind of a number, how many families are going through this?
Well, at any given time, there's about 600, or any given year, there's about 600,000 children that deals with the foster care system. That's
an epidemic in my word.
Yes. With the foster care system, or the child protective services system. So some of these have been there for a long time. Some of them repeat, they go back after the same family, but you've got the mother, you've got the father, you've got the siblings, you've got grandpas, you've got aunts, uncles. So many, I think at least many millions of families in America have gone through, or are going through it now, or they've gone through it in the past, and they're dealing with the trauma. I got a phone call just the other day from a mom whose the kids were taken away because one of them, the kids were fixing breakfast in bed for mama, and one of them spilled hot ramen noodles on the other one, and the kid got a burn. They took the kids away for that, and they were abused and in foster care, and these kids are still going through a lot of trauma today, even after being returned for years. So she's still dealing with this years later. So it's funny because it's the situation, it's the thing that nobody talks about. Nobody says, oh, my grandchild was taken by CHR or Child Protective Services. Nobody wants to talk about that. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. But they really don't need to be, because there's so many, and so many are innocent and shouldn't have been taken. But they're all around. Everywhere I go, I find people that they'll say, yeah, my grandchild was taken. My niece was taken. My nephew was taken. My cousin was taken. I grew up in foster care. It's so much bigger than we realize. It's a silent epidemic.
Yeah,
it really is.
Okay. Do you think it's so much that they're ashamed, or is that they don't think anybody would believe them? Because
most definitely that's part of it. Yes.
That unit is full of narcissists, and that's what a narcissist will do. A narcissist will tell you dreamed it. That didn't really happen, over and over and over again.
the one in my book, Voices That Will Not Be Silenced, the grandmother said when she was talking to Senator Linda Collins Smith in Arkansas, she said, "I know this story is crazy. I mean, it's hard to believe that it could happen, but here it is."
Mm-hmm.
But even with her story, so many people say, "Yeah, that's what happened to me. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Yeah, that's what happened to me." So it's not just them. It sounds crazy. The stories that they go through sound insane. How can this happen in America? But it's happening all around us. It's happening in Alabama.
You betcha it's happening here in Alabama. Yeah, there's a reason there's such an influx of illegals coming in. And this is another thing. People talk about, oh, the poor, pitiful illegals, and I care for them too.
Yeah.
But are they taking away their children? Is this an excuse to get kids? And what are they doing with the kids when they do collect these children? That is what I don't like.
So many of them are being trafficked. So many of them. I mean, we had there was 300,000 kids missing at the border. There's a minimum of like 33,000 American kids that go missing from foster care every year. And I think that number is actually much higher. They're not all being reported. And many of these kids are being trafficked. Lots of them are being trafficked. Now, I will say, I was so excited. On Saturday, I saw the news reports. Did you see this? Where they located the Trump administration, that Trump was just inaugurated.
Yeah.
A week ago, so less than a week, they've located 75,000 to 80,000 of those 300,000 missing immigrant children.
Uh-huh.
That's fully 25%. And there was a lady on Fox News, and kudos to her. She says, so clearly they had access to find out where these kids were. What happened in the last 4 years? Why hadn't they found these kids? This is a mystery. I don't think it's actually a mystery.
Let's talk about trafficking. And I know we don't want to get it's just too heartbreaking. What does it mean when you say a child has been trafficked?
Well, I think the most basic definition is when a child is sold for money. So, and that could literally be buying a baby, to adopt. And maybe that kid has a decent life, but it can go to labor trafficking where they're just buying kids and using them like they used to use them for the farms, and they're putting them to work. Many times though, and I think that this is the overwhelming majority, is the sex trafficking. Babies, not just teenagers, not 16, 17, 18-year-olds. It's 10 and 11-year-olds. It's 5 and 6-year-olds, and it's babies and toddlers are being trafficked. They're being used for sex right here in the good old US of A.
And so the past administration couldn't or wouldn't do anything about it, which is the perfect term. Could not, or would not?
I think would not. I mean, I think if President Trump has done something about it in 4 days, then most assuredly the former president could have done something about it in 4 years had he had the inclination. Or was he protecting people? Was he? Well, who knows? Was he involved in it himself?
Okay, that's my first assumption. Okay, if there's a problem and you're not taking care of it, that means you're involved in it.
That would be the logical assumption.
Yeah.
That would be what I would think. But I mean, obviously, now I know in family court, in child protective services, you're guilty until proven innocent, and you got enough money to buy your freedom. But in criminal court in America, you're supposed to be innocent, presumed innocent until proven guilty. But that doesn't change what many of us may think when presented with the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there is evidence that there has been a lot of things going on, and I think a lot of it's being exposed and will be dealt with.
What really makes sense to me is so many people were against Trump, and what that tells me is they're guilty of something and they know he's going to fight tooth and nail until he gets to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
that's why.
I think so. I think that's a lot of it. Now, I think that there are people who are duped. I do. I know some. Mm-hmm. I do know some beautiful Democrat people that are wonderful people. And I just pray that God will open their eyes, because they're not seeing the same things that we're seeing. But they're believing what they're served up by CNN and the like.
Yeah.
And still, did you hear about a lot of their people have been let go at, I think, CNN, and I think NBC was another one.
Mm-hmm. You want to know why? I'm pretty sure you know why. Okay, first, when we are, and this is American citizens, we are like the first ones to turn a blind eye and forgive people and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're like, oh, it's not the way it looks. Let's give them a chance. I mean, it's just the way we are. That's the way we are.
Right. Yes.
But I'm just telling you, this time around, with all the kangaroo court and all that stuff that's been going on against Trump, I think a lot of eyes were opened this time. Whether they liked him or not, it's like, whoa, if they're going to do that to him, what would they do to me if they don't like me?
Well, I tell you, the people that have dealt with family court, they're like, you see what they're doing to Trump? This is what they do in family court every single day. Mm-hmm. Same thing. They're just not getting the press.
Uh-huh. So. Yeah. Well, Trump's smart enough to, it's free advertising for him. I mean, you've been in the media just like I have. You know how much it costs to get your name out there. Mm-hmm. He used it as a tool to get free advertising, which was smart on his end.
Very smart. Yeah, he knows how to troll the trolls. He's playing what is that chess that's 3-dimensional chess. He's so far ahead.
Okay, you don't mess with the master marketer. Okay, this is the master marketer, and it was. You're probably too young to remember this, but my grandparents used to read a book to us. It's about Br'er Rabbit and Br'er Fox.
Oh yeah,
don't throw me in that briar patch. Don't do that. He's playing psychological like nuttiness. Mm-hmm. So, and it wound up being what he wanted to do, and that's what Trump's saying the entire time. Okay. I know that Trump is not God. He's not Jesus or
of course not.
Nothing like that. But God had to have his hand on him. The normal human walking around gum chewing person could not have they couldn't have done this. I mean, day in, day out, hitting your family, hitting jobs, assassinated attempts that we know of too.
Yeah.
I would think there was more than that. But I'm going to tell you what, I feel really good about J.D. Vance. I really do.
I like him. I like him a lot.
Trump. I don't want anything to happen to him, but I feel like if it does, I think J.D. Vance is a young extension of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I think we've got some really good people. I think we've got, when we go and visit in Congress, because we were there a week before the election with Family Forward Project and advocating for a bill for advocates for families that are dealing with Child Protective Services. And we met so many legislators and senators this time, more than we ever have, probably more than we have in our trips combined this time. And there are so many good people that I think that, we've got a jaded idea that, because there's so many of the bad politicians and so many people doing all the crooked stuff, we don't realize how many good people there really actually are, and how many people really are fighting for what's right. And I think that there are some, and I think that the ones who have been there and want to do what's right, but they've kind of been scared or they've been held back. It's like they've been kind of like the horse and the jockey, is sitting at the gate. The gate's there, and it's been holding them back from doing what they want to do, but they're just itching to go. They're ready to go. They're ready to fight. And now, boom, now they can fight. Now they can do what they were sent there for.
Well, they're shut up and they've been overlooked. I mean, people just that they push them to the back of the line, and these are people that need to be in the front of the line.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I think having Trump as president, first of all, JD, you can't have a background much more backward than his was growing up. I mean, it was pretty rough. And I don't know if you saw the movie and read the book. I love the book. But anyway, you can see what he went through with his mother, and I wanted to say this, you talk about, having grace to people, forgiving people for what they've done and that kind of thing. So in the book, whereas his mother, it was like one of the last times she got back on it again, back on the drugs again. And he had to make a decision. This decision had to be about his career or his mother. She's just going to keep doing it over and over and over again. but there was redemption. And I thought it was just the classic picture. I'm going to cut this picture out and I'm going to put it in the frame. But it's the picture of him during the inauguration. And his mother standing right there.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the forgiveness and the redemption there.
Yes. Yes.
Did you get to see his mother?
I just what you saw on the screen, like everybody else did. But just he's an overcomer. He is what we all can be. You know, the kids in foster care, the kids that are being rescued from trafficking, the people that have been the forgotten man that President Trump talks about all the time. We can all overcome the things that we grew up with, or the things that try to knock us down, you know, and we can, with God's help, it's God that does it. We can overcome those things, and we can become like J.D. Vance. It's just a classic American picture. That's who we are as Americans. We overcome, and we seem to have forgotten that collectively, that we are overcomers as Americans, as Christians. We were born to be overcomers.
Well, what's happened in the past decades, I'm going to say, it didn't just begin. In the past decades, we've been putting people in office who they're so out of touch. They're elitist. And they think there's so much, they don't understand. We're the ones who vote them. We're the ones who hire them. Without us, they wouldn't have a job. And they forget that. And they look down on us like we're just the little person that's very insignificant. We mean nothing. But Trump sees different.
Yeah.
You're right. And Trump sees absolute different. What do you think was going through Trump's mind when he was actually, say, interviewing for the VP pick? What do you think was going through Trump's mind when he talked to JD? When do you think that was the one in his mind? And why?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I think when he sees the fire of that quality of not giving up, he's already overcome so much to get where he is, and he's not giving up, and he believes. And you know, JD Vance was not always a Trump supporter. He had some questions. He wasn't a yes man. He was one that's like, okay, can we do things better? And you know, and then he realized what Trump was really actually about when I think he saw who Trump really is, and then he supported him. But I think just even having that quality of, I mean, I know President Trump absolutely values loyalty, but I think that there's a genuineness in JD Vance with that, with having the courage to disagree and then change your mind and realize, hey, you know what, I was wrong, and this man is a good president, a good candidate. There's a genuineness there that I think that President Trump values, but I think it's that overcoming quality. It is that quality of determined that's not going to give up.
Well, what I've noticed on interviews, JD comes up with the answer before they even give him the question, and that puts him on the upper hand. He knew they were going to ask him that question about, well, you've not always been a Trump fan. Well, before the woman could actually get the sentence out, he was up there. You know something? I wasn't a Trump supporter at first. But as I got to know him, and not listening to the flub on the news, but the knowing the real man, and that's important. You need to really know people before you make your assumption about what they're really like.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty smart to be able to answer the question before they give it to you, the question to you.
Well, I mean, he had to know that was going to come up. I know that was something that people talked about. I saw that in the media. Well, how can J.D. Vance do it when he disagreed with him? He was a never Trumper. Well, you know, people, I have great respect for people who can be confronted with the truth and recognize that they need to change their behavior or their assumptions or their beliefs when confronted with the truth. That's intellectual honesty.
We have a mutual friend, Ann Eubank. And you know Ann. Now, Ann, I do too. I mean, this woman right here knows her stuff too. She's a lot
yes, very smart.
In a different category. But this is what she said. So she was for Ted Cruz. And so I got to meet Ted Cruz because of her and, just different things. And I love Ted Cruz. I think he's
I
nice
do
and
too.
funny. But what I could see happening is Trump it's going to have to take somebody with some muster in them. And not that Ted Cruz didn't. It's going to take someone like, I don't care what they think. It's got to take someone like that that's got the drive to go forward, no matter what they say to hurt your feelings. So anyway, Ann I was interviewing her. We were on a commercial break. And she said, who are you going to vote for? She suspected it was going to be Trump. And I was dreading telling her because I thought she's going to hound me and just, how Ann is. And so I said, I'm voting for Donald Trump. And she said, you're what? And I said, yeah, she was a never Trumper. Big time.
I don't think I forgot that about her.
Ooh, yeah, but she was for Ted Cruz.
Yes.
And she said, you don't know what he's like. And so talking about how rude and rusty he was and all this
He's a New Yorker. You met New Yorkers. That's who they are. They're just rude. That's just.
My dad's an Alabamian. He reminds me of him. I mean, it's just, they got a one-track mind and want to get something successful done. We're going to not stop until we get it done. So anyway, then Trump, she gets to meet Trump. So she comes back from the meeting and she said,
I'm jealous.
This is hard for me to admit. I was wrong about him. And I went like this, the world must be coming to an end. And she said, I met him. He's nothing like I thought he was. I said, well, tell me, what's he like? Because I already been told by several other people that had met him that he's nothing like they thought he was.
Right.
And I said, well, what's he really like? And she said, I thought he would be all in my face, talking about himself, being arrogant and all this kind of stuff. So he walks up to her, shakes her hand, looks her straight in the eyeballs and says, tell me about yourself. And shut up. He did not say another word and let her talk. She said, I couldn't believe how cordial he was. And she said he was attentive. What she noticed about him, she thought he was a blabbermouth. She thought he was just constantly talking over and over again. She said, I couldn't believe, she said, it wasn't just me. She said, I was watching him talk to other people going around the room. He was attentive. He was listening to them and listening to their concerns. She said, you're right. She said, I love Ted Cruz, but Trump's going to be the one that pulls us out of all this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. I think that Trump has the ability to do that.
Well, he has
the anointing. He honestly has the anointing to do it.
Oh, well, I think so too. Otherwise, he'd be dead now. I mean, how close did he come to getting killed? I mean, the turn of his head.
Millimeters. Millimeters.
He just happened to turn his head at the right time.
Yeah, that was definitely God. Mm-hmm. Definitely God.
It's a God thing. So whatever God's got a plan for, it's not going to be destroyed.
That's right.
You know that. And I think that's helped a lot of people too. And a lot of Christians didn't vote. They did this time, but in the past, a lot of they say, well, it don't matter. I think when that what was meant for his harm turned to good. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I
think that day was a turning point in the campaign. I think he won the election that day. When the enemy came too hard, the enemy overplayed his hand.
Mm-hmm. Didn't work. Girl, we got to go into a commercial break. We've already went through a little bit over half the show. Can you believe
that? Wow. Fast.
It goes by so fast. Okay, let's go ahead and break. We'll be right back in just a minute. Everybody, can't wait to be back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community
Good
College.
afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel. I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You know, we're celebrating 20 years this year. And would you believe, Terry, the date would be April 1st. So Tom Williams, when the show began, I said, well, when's it going to start? And he said, April 1st. And I said, no, let's not do April 1st. That's All Fool's Day. I mean, what's I going to tell people? He said, you'll always remember that date. When people ask you, and he's right. I remember it's April Fool's Day. So,
oh my goodness.
And I want to thank Tom Williams for that too. He gave me my start.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know, my book was published on April the 2nd because we were talking, they were helping, the people that were helping me with this, they said, well, that's April Fool's. You probably don't want to do April Fool's. I said, I probably don't want to do April Fool's. So it was April the 2nd. That was why, but maybe. But
it worked. That's all I can say.
That's hilarious.
There's a lot of folks who've helped me throughout the years, and I definitely appreciate it. A lot of them just feel sorry for me, Terry. And they said, let's help get her out of this rut she's in. So it's been a lot of Terri LaPoint is with me right now. She's an author. She's a speaker. Man, you're always out there getting bills passed. So tell me, what have you been working on?
Okay, so there's two specific ones, one on the federal level and one on the state level. Mm-hmm. So on the federal level, last year we got a bill introduced called the Advocates for Families Act. Representative Barry Moore of Alabama is the sponsor, and then we had a Democrat co-sponsor. Believe it or not, we actually have family. This is an issue that affects everybody. They don't care what party. So it really is, believe it or not, it's a bipartisan issue, which is really good. But the bipartisan co-lead did not get reelected, so we've got to get a new Democrat co-lead. But now we've got the Republican majority, which is great. So the bill should be reintroduced sometime in early February, and it's the Advocates for Families Act. And what this does, it's a really simple bill. So if Child Protective Services comes to a family and they're dealing with them, many times they don't know what their rights are. They're scared, especially if they're innocent. Their emotions are all over the place. Somebody to kind of help de-escalate the situation, tell them what to expect, tell them what the process is, kind of walk them through. so that's an area that there really are not advocates. Many times the advocates aren't even allowed to go to court with them or to the hospital with them if it's a medical situation. So this bill says that the states would have to allow an advocate from as soon as the investigation is initiated. So, but the states don't have to pay for it. They don't have to provide it. But they would just have to allow this if the state wants to get Title IV-B funding, which they all do. They all get it. So they want that. So it's a real simple bill. It's not even 4 pages. So
it's easy.
Hmm?
Why do bills have to be 200 and 500 pages, 1,000 pages?
Maybe they hide stuff in them. I don't know. I think that may be part of it. But this one's just a very simple bill. But most of the people that we talk to say, well, yeah, this is kind of a no-brainer. This is so simple. Why don't we have this? But here's the problem. Because of CAPTA, the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, and some other, the Title IV-E and funding and different bills or different laws that are in place, they have these confidentiality requirements on the federal level. So the states interpret that differently, and some states are saying, well, the mother who's had her children taken away can't have her mother come in there to hold her hand and be with her in court. They can't have somebody who's been through this to help them or to just kind of be there for them and to be by their side. They can't come into the courtroom. So this just takes away that confidentiality where that if the parents want an advocate, they can have one. And the good news is there's some places, been some research where advocates are involved from the beginning. Almost half of those kids never go into the foster care system. And a lot of the parents are unsubstantiated. A lot of the allegations are unsubstantiated before it even really gets the ball rolling, which actually saves taxpayers a lot of money if we're not taking kids away from innocent parents.
Okay, now this is a federal agency, state and federal agencies. Why can't it be taken away from the government? We all know the government doesn't know what they're doing. They don't know the left hand from the right hand. You have to go all through this paperwork trail stuff, and it just takes forever to get anything done. Could anything be done on a different level? Do you think President Trump may have something in mind?
I hope that he does. I don't know. I haven't been able to get really that close to find out if what he's thinking there. My gut feeling is that he's going to completely change things. And that's been my gut feeling since his first term, that it would happen in his second term, because he had to lay the foundations. And now he's having to go back and undo a lot of the Biden stuff and redo some of the things that he had already done. But the good news is a lot of things been exposed. A lot of people realize more is going on. So I think that's helpful. But I do think he's going to help with that, because the federal funding, listen to this, the federal funding for child protective services and foster care and adoption is 40% of any given state's budget for child welfare comes from the federal government. So it's not money. It's like, say, Alabama's DHR. And the 40% is an average, but somewhere around that amount of the money, the DHR's budget comes, 40% would come from the federal government.
Yeah, but the way I see that, okay, I'm just old Commodore Donna right here. Okay, I'm talking common sense stuff. Does that prohibit work being done faster to make things happen? I mean, is that a takeaway? Am I right with the takeaway on that?
Well, as far as like with kids being taken, they take them pretty quick. A lot of times they'll investigate. Sometimes they'll take them really quickly, but because it was ASPA, the Adoption and Safe Families Act of 97, Hillary Clinton's baby, and all that entails, that kind of tightened up the timelines, because kids could be in foster care a lot longer. Say a parent had some different issues and they're in foster care with a relative or something. Hopefully, that's what we would like to see, is if they have to go into foster care, at least let it be with a family member. And that's the way it should be. But if the parents are kind of back and forth and there's some struggles and they're still working on stuff, then, if they cut off a year and a half or 2 years, then boom, they're still in the system. So then the kid gets taken, or the parental rights are terminated and the child can be adopted out. But many times the courts are dragging these cases out because of the money, to keep the money flowing. The courts are dragging these cases out so that they run the clock out, and now the child can be put up for adoption.
I just saw that happening. Phil is my second husband. I've been married before, previously. And so my parents had such a rotten divorce. It dragged out forever and ever. And it cost them most everything they had went to court costs and attorneys and stuff like that. So when my ex and I decided that we just can't make it with each other, I said, I got an idea. Let's go. I've called an attorney. Let's go to this one attorney. It cost us $300, not a dime more. You know why? Because we didn't drag it through the courts. Now, there was a period of time we had to wait, that kind of thing. But what I'm talking about is dragging something through a court system. All that does is make the richer richer. And I agree. I think that's what they want, because the attorney was just a little bit. He said, "Now, you sure you?" And I said, "Stop trying to make us fight. We're not fighting. We're just going to end the marriage." And I had a son, my son. I didn't want to drag him through a bunch of nonsense when, and I wanted to keep him with his dad and all this, and we shared Brad. So that's the way I wanted it to be. Every kid needs to be loved. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, because families are not like they used to be. They're not close for the most part. I know mine's not. And so used to, back in the days, if there was an issue, let's say maybe the mom or the dad died, well, brothers and sisters would come in taking those kids up and help. I mean, that's what they did back in the day. Now it's a bother. See, kids feel like they're a bother anymore. They do. And as far as family coming in and helping, that's almost unbelievable. I mean, just,
Well, and
is this on purpose? Is this part of the setup?
Well, there is more money for the states in stranger adoption and stranger care. But I've dealt with so many grandparents and aunts and uncles and family members who want to step in and take care of their child, but the government is not letting them. I remember doing articles where and I would see the court document, where the social worker would tell the judge there are no suitable family members for placement. So therefore the child had to go in foster care. And I've got sitting here a list from the parents of, 10 names. This Aunt Susie does foster care in her county. It's a different county. And Uncle Bill and Aunt Geraldine, they've adopted children from foster care in another state. And and there's all these things, but none of them are suitable according to the system, because the financial benefits it's incentivized to place them with strangers. So that's something that could easily be overturned. I mean, we worked hard to get the Family First Prevention Act into law, and President Trump signed it into law, but the states aren't doing it.
So why aren't the states doing it?
Well, it's a little bit complicated, but if you get, here's an example that Connie regularly, an attorney, uses. If you take these 3 little kids, mom and dad got in a fight, domestic kind of, not really a big deal. They got in a fight. Somebody calls Child Protective Services, and they see these 3 little kids. Well, they could send the parents to an anger management class for about $200. And under the Family First and the prevention money, they could get reimbursed 75% of that. So they get $150 back for that $200 class. Or they could take all 3 of those little kids, place them in foster care. One of them special needs. Oh, we got that child's worth more because that child is on the spectrum and they got their special needs. And they're getting, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars per kid every month. Well, through the Title 4E. So which one do you think that they're going to look at? Which one are they going to do? Oh, and if they send the kids to if they send the parents to that class, then they get reimbursed the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So is there a set of individuals who are making all this money, or is there, I mean, who's making the money?
The states, there are bonuses allegedly that go to supervisors. I mean, I think it kind of varies. It's just in the system. The courts are making money. There was something that came out several years ago that said that for every child in the system, there were about 45 jobs that were created for that are involved with each one of those children. So there's a lot of job security within that.
And those people need to be paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any idea of what their salaries are?
I mean, some of them don't make a lot, and then some of them make a pretty good bit. Mm-hmm. So I think it varies as to where they are in that hierarchy.
But in the meantime, the child is left in limbo.
And the child is the loser. The child.
They don't know, am I loved? What's wrong with me? I mean, what's up?
Right. Yeah. They're told that their parents, who are fighting for them, because I'm talking to their parents and they're crying and they're praying and they absolutely love these kids, and they're being told by the social workers that your mama doesn't love you anymore. They don't want you anymore. You were just too much. You were too difficult. So they don't want you anymore. They're telling them this. How do we know this? Because when the kids get out of the system, they come and they tell me.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, now this happened, I think it was probably in the 1990s or something like that. So a woman that I knew was a divorcee, and she was doing her best to raise her kid as much as she possibly could. The girl got out, got on drugs, and went missing. And so what the girl would do, she would threaten her mother. Teenager, she's about 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
14, 15. She would threaten her mother and say, "Don't tell me what to do, or I'll call Child Protective Services." So there was a lot of that went on during that day, and she told me about it. And I said, "You know, I'm just telling you." She said, "What would you do?" And I said, "I wasn't going to tell you until you asked me." I said, "I'd give her a reason to call Child Protective Services if she's going to say that." And it was just, and the woman, you have to know the woman. Now, some people are just jerks. Some people are just going to beat their kids and stuff like that. This woman was nothing like that.
I do see what you're saying. I think I interpreted it a different way. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. But it's such a scary thing. I've known people that had their kids. There was a mother that had her teenager taken away because the mother took away the cell phone. And the kid got upset and talked to somebody, and then the kid was trafficked through Child Protective Services, through the foster parents.
Okay, you just brought up something else. Because of social media, Facebook, all these different things that are out there, a lot of parents are not doing the parental controls. Okay, first of all, I say there needs to be some kind of an age limit before a kid could be on Facebook. If you give them a cell phone, let it only be to where they can make phone calls if they have to. And that needs to be emergency situations. Maybe give them a prepaid card or something like that. So is there anything being developed that where a parent can be a parent and put some kind of controls on cell phones? They can't get on Facebook where a trafficker is going to get them. I mean, because I would think that traffickers are afraid that they're looking for the lonely kid. And older adults too, not just older adults, but I'm talking about people of all ages. I would like to see Facebook have a few more controls.
Mm-hmm. And that would be good. But that right now, I mean, the world we live in just got a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And so it behooves parents to have that close relationship with them they say, look, your social media is not private. If I don't have the password, if I can't be in there, then you don't get cell phone or you don't get to be on it. But kids can figure out, the kids are smart. You know, they can figure out ways to worm past it. So we got to pray for our kids, but we got to educate them on the risks as well.
Okay, so it's been beat in our heads for decades that, kids have to be free. Kids have to be able to do what they want to do to grow, and to, if you don't know what sex you are, that's okay. Things like that have been, for decades, has been taught, for parents. What can a parent do? Because parents, I'm just telling you, I talk to them all the time. They're afraid to do anything. They're afraid somebody's going to take their kids away from them.
Right. Unfortunately, right now, it's a valid fear. Until this gets reined in, it's a valid fear. Kids are taken away from good parents for appropriate discipline. It happens. So
what's considered appropriate discipline?
It depends on who you talk to. I mean, seriously, this social worker in this county may say it's one thing, and this social worker in this county may say the opposite is appropriate. And this one will take a child away for this, and this one will take them away for the opposite. So, it's all nebulous right now. So it's a tough place this is a tough time to be a parent. It really is.
Yeah. You betcha. And then what do you say to the grandparent who wants to take care of that child? Maybe their kid is on drugs and alcohol and can't take care of their own kids, but the grandparents want custody and they can't get custody. What could we do?
Well, and that's where, we've got to make changes where the family first, where if a child is taken away from a parent for a legitimate reason, where the grandparents can step in. Now, there are some that are doing, if the parents are agreeing and knowing that their child is at risk of being taken, then they are setting up a guardianship and not really going through the court, but they're just getting a notarized where the grandparent is the guardian of that child. And so if they have that in place, that is somewhat of a protection. That is something that I think I've seen some people do that effectively.
I know a grandparent who wanted to take the grandchild, but the problem is the grandparent knew nothing about computers, barely got on Facebook, had a cell phone. As a matter of fact, they had the old flip phone. And so they didn't know all of the things that kids can do on Facebook. Yeah. And so the grandparent gets in trouble for it because they're not looking after the child. They didn't know how to.
They didn't know how.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that was communities maybe need to have a class on educate how to protect your child online, offered at your local church or your local community center or something.
I think that would be a very wise thing to do, because I'm just going to tell you, just from my own parent, my own mother got into some trouble on Facebook. And and I just assumed she wasn't going to do that, and she did anyway. And so it's been a struggle for me, and this is my mother.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do? There's got to be a balance there. So there's got to be an answer somewhere.
Right. Yep. And I don't know the answer, right? But I think we're going to get there. I think, we're on the right track. We're getting on the right track. Do you have time to mention the state bill that we've been working on?
Yeah, we've got about a little bit less than 6 minutes. The rest is up to you. You close it up.
All right. Well, in Alabama, we've got some legislators that are supporting a bill that Representative Kenneth Pascal out of Shelby County is working on, a bill that's an advocate bill, not an advocate bill. It's a DHR kind of integrity bill. Shoot, I should have looked that up. I'm trying to remember exactly the name that he's called that. Let's see. I'll tell you in just a second.
By the way, who's thinking, Terri LaPoint is our guest right now. She's an author. She's a speaker. You've got to get her books. And Terri, before we close, let's tell folks how they can find your books.
Oh, my book is on Amazon, and it's called Voices That Will Not Be Silenced by Terri LaPoint. And here, let's see.
And I'm just going to tell you, when you get this book, you won't put it down until you finish reading it.
How do I get out of that?
And if you can find that segment, it wasn't 60 Minutes. What was it on? I don't remember which one. It was 60 Minutes or something like that. And when I saw that story 3 years ago, I was just overwhelmed.
2020 did a segment and Dateline did a segment, but this book has things in there you will not find on there. There are things that I've proven, that I have hard evidence, things that they did not cover. Because there was a lot more involved with the senator than the media ever covered. And she was investigating the child trafficking and all of that. Oh, but BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com, RealNewsSpark.com. You could go there. But I was going to tell you the name of that bill real quick is going to be, oh shoot, where'd it go? I had it. DHR Integrity and Accountability Act.
Okay.
Something like that. DHR Transparency and Integrity Act. I'm sorry. DHR Transparency and Integrity Act. And that's going to codify the rights that parents really already have, but they're not enforcing, things that have been fought for. And at the Supreme Court level, they will say that parents have these rights, but it's really putting this like, it's going to be kind of like Miranda rights for parents, that when DHR comes to their door, they will have to be told that they have some rights, because they do. But you can't stand up for your rights you don't know you have.
Well, what stops the state or the general United States government? What stops them? Because sometimes if you just say you love Jesus, it's like, oh, that person is just really out there. I mean, you know what I mean? And it's almost like they make the rules as they go. There's so many good parents.
Child Protective Services definitely does a lot of that. They really do. A lot of it's left up to their discretion because it's confidential. Most of it's held behind closed doors. There's no accountability. In criminal court, you've got cameras. You've got people that can come into court. You've got people that can look that judge in the eye and, let them know we're watching. We're watching to see, are you doing what's right? Are you doing what's constitutional? Are you doing what's legal? There's nobody doing that in most of family court. So there's no accountability. It's just, it's the Wild West. It's a kangaroo court.
Yeah, it is. It is the Wild West. It
really is.
But it's our children that are. It's not benefiting children at all. It's benefiting some
and it's
outside
tearing families apart. And I'm done with it. I am so done with it. I am ready for this to be over and families to be restored. And that's what I fight for every single day.
Okay, now if somebody wants to help you, we've got just a little bit over a minute left in this segment. If someone wants to help you get that word out, how can they do it?
Okay, well, I'm on Facebook all the time. I'm on X, just my name, Terri LaPoint, and you can see it on your screen. That's the way it's spelled. Find me. RealNewsSpark.com is my website. Just find me. You can email me at my name, Terri LaPoint, at protonmail.com. And I'm happy to speak to any group that wants me to come speak. And if you want to just gather some friends, and I'll come and have lunch and speak if you're local, because we need to get the word out. We need to educate people. So my name's out there. If you know my name, you should be able to find me and figure out somewhere, and get in touch with Donna. She knows how to get in touch with me. So let's get the word out.
You go out and you speak to groups as well, right?
Yes, I've spoken to Moms for Liberty. I've spoken to lots of Republican women groups. Done a Bible study before. So I'm very flexible. If you want to know what's going on, I'll be glad to talk to you. Oh, and Family Forward Project. If you go on Facebook, there's Family Forward Project is a Facebook group, and we're about 19,000 strong. And it's a group that works to educate parents and help parents. Kind of, it's almost like peer to peer. I haven't been through this, so I'm not really on there to give advice from what I've been through. I haven't gone through that personal experience, but so many have, and they can really help each other to find answers.
And you've had a lot of interviews as well. Terri, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate every single thing you do. Can't say thank you enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know you could be doing anything else, but this is a very important interview. So go ahead and get that out there and share it with all your friends. We've got to get that word out. Absolutely. Everybody have a super duper awesome, blessed day today. See you next time.